a movie adaptation of the making of one of the worst movies of all time somehow ends up being one of the best movies of 2017. Hey movie fans, so The Disaster Artist more or less chronicles the misadventures of Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero creating their own movie known as The Room, which ultimately received cult status for being what is often regarded as the Citizen Kane of bad movies. So this time around, Dave and James Franco team up to bring us what happened with this story, and it's great, guys. I love this movie so much. So a little bit of explanation. The Disaster Artist movie is based off of the book The Disaster Artist by Greg Sestero and Tom Bissell, more or less chronicling the adventures of The Room. This movie follows more the trajectory of the book. This movie is not specifically the making of The Room. At its core, it's a story about the relationship between Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero, Johnny and Mark in the movie The Room. And that is one of the best things about this movie. This movie really, The Room is just in the background really for this movie. The movie really is all about Tommy and Greg's relationship, and it's a really good relationship. So we gotta talk about the fantastic cast. James Franco as Tommy Wiseau. It's weird for me to say this, but this dude should probably get some Oscar consideration, because I did not see James Franco in this. I saw Tommy Wiseau. Like the weird voice dialect and the goofy mannerisms and everything. It's funny at first, and then you get used to it, and he just becomes this role, and he was really good at it. And just like that, Dave Franco was really great as Greg Sestero. At no point did I really think, these are the Franco brothers doing a movie together. It just seemed like these characters that I had read about in the Disaster Artist book, that I had seen in The Room. It was a really well done cast with really good characters, but at its core, it's a story about friendship, and that dynamic really worked because of those two main characters' performances. What I also really liked about this movie is that while it pokes some fun at The Room for being as bad as it is, this movie isn't here to make fun of The Room, but more celebrate movies in general. So basically, this movie isn't 2 hours of, hey guys, look at this Tommy Wiseau, didn't he make a really crappy movie? It's more or less applauding Tommy, because they're like, dude, it's hard to make a movie. You literally did not give up on your dreams. So Tommy Wiseau as a character, he's a jerk in this. He's awful, but at times, a lot through this actually, you really feel for this guy. Like, I genuinely feel bad for him, because as much as he's a jerk and just horrible to people, you do feel bad of just, at the end of the day, people keep telling him, you're not going to be an actor, you're not going to be an actor, you don't have the look, you don't have the right acting ability, and that's not up for us to decide. If he wants to do it, who are we to say no? And that's a really great message for this movie to send. It's not really what I was expecting for this movie, just because The Room as a whole has a status as a great comedy. And so don't get me wrong, The Disaster Artist does have some fantastic humor. This is one of the funniest movies I've seen all year. But just as much as I spent laughing, I felt genuinely touched and inspired by this movie, because they have this whole message with Tommy's character of, this dude literally did not give up. He pursued no matter what, and I think that's awesome. Like, The Room, by no stretch of the imagination, is a great movie. The Disaster Artist, though, is a fantastic movie, and it celebrates bad movies because you had the guts to make a movie to begin with, and that's an awesome. And like I said earlier, this movie is wicked funny. Like I said, it's not about the making of The Room. That being said, when they get to The Room related things, it's just the best thing ever. It's wonderful. It's so so good. Like, you don't have to have seen The Room before this to get a lot of the jokes and the humor, but it kind of helps. So when they reenact scenes from the original Room movie, you're just laughing your butt off because they do it so well. You could tell the love and dedication for the utterly ridiculousness of The Room that was put into this movie, because the level of detail in this is just insane. The costumes ripped right out of the original movie. The dialogue is like spot on to the second, which reminds me, stay for the end credits. It's weird to say, but this movie has an end credits scene, and it's really unique, and it's funny, and it's just a nice tip of the cap to the original Room movie. This movie really, I was pleasantly surprised by. I had very, very high expectations going into this, and I was not disappointed. I've spent the past couple hours thinking about this movie, trying to think of negatives, because I like to give you both sides of the equation when I do these reviews, and I genuinely don't really have that many negatives. If I had one, and it's really, really nitpicky, it's that at times it does go a little bit overboard in the cheesy, motivational, like, inspiringness, but even then, it feels warranted in this movie. I kind of make it similar to an episode of Scrubs in that you're gonna laugh a lot, but you're gonna feel a lot, and you feel a lot in this movie. You like the characters. Tommy can be a lot to deal with, but at its core, you see the human aspects of him. It's almost like Hunchback of Notre Dame. You laugh at it, and then you feel bad for laughing at that character to begin with, because you see the humanity that's in not just Tommy Wiseau, but in his efforts. I just really like The Disaster Artist. It's a nice celebration of movies and just kind of reaching for your goals. And I think that's a really awesome message, and I really, really love The Disaster Artist. So as a whole, I'm gonna shock y'all and give The Disaster Artist a 9 out of 10. I really think this is one of the best movies of the year. This completely blew away my already high expectations. Dave and James Franco, you guys were awesome. Oh, and one last thing, I almost forgot about this, but if nothing else, see this movie for some of the cameos involved, because I didn't know about it going in. I knew there's some famous names attached to it just to star, but there's certain cameos in there that are just wonderful, but they also make sense. They're not distracting cameos. They flow really, really well, and certain faces pop up and you're like, wait, is that who I think it is? And more than likely it is, and it just kind of adds to the fun of the film. So I highly recommend Disaster Artist. Go check it out if you are interested in the behind the scenes of how filmmaking works, or if you just want to see a never give up story and or just like to laugh at a movie. It's just a genuinely good time. Well, what did you guys think of The Disaster Artist? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like what you see and want to see more, subscribe to the channel, or find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram at Uncharted Media. Stay sharp, movie guys and gals.